For everyone tuning in,
Yeah.
welcome to Filmmakers Uncut, a podcast about meeting filmmakers and photographers around the world who've had, a bit of success in their life and in their industry. And we kind of just pick their minds and, see how they're doing. And, hopefully they can teach us a little bit. Today, we're here with Sean Skene. Hi, Sean. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Typically, when we start this podcast, we kind of let you go off a little bit about yourself and your bio. So if you could just let our viewers know a bit about yourself and, how you got started and how where you are now, that would be amazing.
Sure. So, like you said, I'm Sean Skene. I've been in the industry since I was probably 16 as a stunt performer. So my dad's been a stunt coordinator for basically my entire life, and so I grew up doing stunts. And then when I was around 20-ish, I started stunt coordinating, and I've been kind of directing my own things on and off, doing a bunch of editing, and yeah, my main thing is stunt coordinating and stunt performing, but I'll jump into the odd acting role, and directing is my passion. I think, like a lot of people, is that I love to have that control over the project and be able to make it my own. So that's what I'm moving towards and pushing for. But like everyone, that's one of the harder jobs to get. So keep trying.
Yeah, for sure. You definitely have like a
So,
little up versus everyone else on that end. I just
Mhm.
You did start in stunt performing. So your dad used to be a stunt performer himself, as you said. Was there any movies and stuff that he was in that, really what made you want to get into that? Was it just what you saw him doing?
Honestly, I grew up playing hockey my entire life. So I grew up in the athletics, and it's kind of a no brainer. It's kind of every little boy's dream to jump around in front of camera and get paid for it. So I just kind of jumped into it. He would test out harnesses on us and stuff, and work with us. And then as the smaller opportunities came up, I would get on set and do it. And I found it pretty. It's it's a pretty fun job, actually, because it is very much team oriented, sort of like sports. And yeah, it was easy. It was fun.
That's awesome. I know I
awesome. I
interrupted
also
you
wanted to
doing
ask
it.
you, just for those that don't know, what
Mhm.
does a stunt coordinator do on set, and why is their job so important?
All right, so a stunt coordinator is basically in charge of everything stunts. So the stunt coordinator gets hired right off the bat by the production manager and the producers, and they break down the script with the director as to what the stunts are. And we flag everything. So from giant, car flips and people on fire to actors being slapped, or even like in the Hallmark movies, the girl stumbles into the fireman and the love begins. Right, like all those little things are stunts and require some sort of choreography or some sort of action. And stunt coordinators are there to basically, to help the director direct those scenes. So we work in different capacities on different shows. If it's a Hallmark thing, I'll step in and go, yeah, she just needs a mat. That's fine. She'll fall out of frame. Are you good with that? And then there's the big shows where there's giant fight scenes where I have to choreograph the entire action and decide, help the director and the DP to decide what the camera angles are, to sell a full illusion. So yeah, stunt coordinator's job is very, very much on the ground floor with the director, and is yeah, and can be a very tough job sometimes because you're in charge of the creativity aspect, but you're also in charge of safety. So you're kind of walking that line between what can I get the director without putting anyone in jeopardy and keeping this a fun and safe set. That makes
That's
sense for
awesome.
stunt
Yeah,
coordinator? Is that a good description?
that
Yeah,
was
for
very
sure. That
good.
was extremely clear.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So what made you want to pursue this line of work? You were talking about your hockey career, but was there anything in particular that made you grasp to it?
Um, well, I always grew up. It was in high school. I was basically the only kid with Final Cut Pro at home, so I would went for electronics and all my projects. Like I would make the full film and have about 9 people jump on my project, and we'd all get A's because because I had Final Cut at home. So you know, even for like English projects and stuff, I would have to do book reports, and it wouldn't be an option to make a film, but I would just show up with a film, and they'd be like, "Ah, that's pretty cool, okay," and I'd get a B plus because I wasn't supposed to do it. But I always loved making film in that way, and yeah, and then when the opportunity came up to step on a real set with professionals, I jumped on that. It is in a different aspect because you do, you know, like I said, when you're stunt performing, you know, you just walk on set, sit in the chair for 8 hours. They say, hey, you're invited to set, come fall down this mat twice. You do that, then you go back and sit down and read your book again. So in a way, it's not very glamorous. Like I don't find the stunt performing life very glamorous in that way, which is why I much prefer diving into a project and kind of directing and choreographing and doing all that work.
That's awesome. We'll definitely talk like a little bit more about that directing and producing end of it, because I know you're getting more and more like into it as we go. But I do, before we kind of roll into that, I know you've been in a fair amount of shows by now, and some popular ones, movies and shows. One being Goon as a movie, and another one Suits. How did you get your first big gig?
Well, I don't really think of them as big gigs, which is, I know it's strange, but like I said, as a stunt performer, you get called and they say, hey, you look like this guy. Can you double? And you go, sure. And you show up and you do the exact same job as you would have done. You know, I did the same job on Suits as I would have done on the lamest horror film that was shot by a student film in here. So it's for me, a big gig doesn't really, for me, it doesn't open doors if it's a stunt performer thing. So I don't get nervous in that way. Go, oh, this is a big show. Makes no difference to me. I'm going to do the exact same performance and be as safe as possible and create the illusion of danger, which is what we do. So big gig, I don't know. Like, I mean, Goon was a big one for me because it was a stunt acting role, and I kind of had I had lines in it. So that one for me was really fun because also it was a fun comedy hockey movie, which turned out so good. I really loved that film when I watched it. So I was very proud to be in that in retrospect. When you join a film, you have no idea. You have no idea what it's going to be in the end. You cross your fingers and hope, but you know, half the time your stunts cut out of the film, or your lines are cut out of the film. So I don't hold them to anything when I sign up. I just go and do my job, and whatever happens, happens.
That's awesome.
Amazing. So when did you realize that you wanted to pursue producing and directing as well?
Always. I've always wanted to produce and direct because, you know, that is the creative work that filmmaking in general is, as you guys know, it's so rewarding because you can take something that you visualize in your head and you find a way to put it on camera. Like you find a way to it's like you're making dreams work, right? You dream something and go, oh, you know what? How could I do this? And it's not work. It works. Stunt work makes me want to do that even more because a lot of that times I'm going, okay, this guy has to fall from a 6-story window onto the pavement, and the director wants to see him hit the pavement, and he wants to see the actor's face. How the hell am I going to do that, right? And then you got to break down those pieces and find a way to do it. And you go, okay, that's stunt performer going out the window, VFX, green screen as the actor falls with wind shooting up at him. Let's have a full weighted dummy smashing the cement and do a face replacement. Like there's all like there's this whole puzzle that you got to put together. And I love doing that even more when it's my story and my idea that I'm trying to get across, right? And also becomes a little frustrating when you coordinate, or as you know, when you work for anyone else, you have this idea and you're trying to help them with the idea, and then you watch the edit and go, oh, that wasn't quite the idea, but you know, still. So it's nice to be able to take that idea and push it all over. You fix it, right? So that's why I want to produce and direct, because I I love the whole creative process and being able to have a final product that I know in my heart is right.
Very
And
cool.
just speaking, as you've obviously been doing this for a while, do you have any advice for someone who maybe knows they want to pursue stunt work but doesn't know how to start getting into it themselves?
That is one of the tougher questions that I get all the time, because it's a great job if you can get it and you can get enough work. A lot of times people get into the stunt double work because they have a great look and they double somebody, right? So a lot of time we're looking for different ethnicities, different heights, different weights, different skill sets. So there's all these little things of categories you got to fall into to actually make yourself a good tool for the stunt coordinator to hire you. So the biggest thing I can say is expand your pool in that way, expand your skill sets, right? So you can't change what you look like or how tall you are. You can get in good shape, and you can learn different skills such as martial arts. You can go to stunt schools and just learn following and learn all these things. It is quite the investment. The biggest thing that I would say is just become a good team player, because we have a lot of people who arrive on set and go, I can do anything. I'll fall in the cement. I'll smash. I don't care. And in my head, I go, thank you. Leave your resume with us. But in my head, I'm thinking, there's no way I'm going to hire that person, because I'm in charge of safety and making our team look good and making the set feel safe. And if I got someone who wants to jump off a roof and smash the cement and show how tough they are, that's going to backfire 100% of the time. So you want to be a good team player, and you want to be able to communicate well, and then work on the athletics on top of that. That's and then to get into, like, if you meet stunt coordinators, talk to them and have those conversations. But the biggest thing is try to find some sort of stunt school or something to get into and kind of meet the community in that way. And then also audition and get your acting skills up, because that's another way to get into it. Is if you get a little stunt actor role, at least you know how to say your 2 lines and you understand what being on set is.
Interesting. What the first time you got into a role, how did you go about that? Do you have like a story around that?
I think my first gag was just hanging upside down on a chair for one of my dad's films that he was stunt coordinating. And it was just the guy was being tortured, hanging upside down on a chair, and he was getting his like pinky clipped off by some pliers. And my dad was like, "Hey, you want to do this job?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can hang upside down. That's fine." So I put on a big curly black wig, got tied up to the chair and hung upside down. And I remember my dad just kind of whispering to me and saying, and saying, so the actor was upside down for about, we told them like he can go upside for like 20 seconds. So if you could hold on for like 2 minutes, that would be great. And I was like, yeah, sounds good. So just because you always want the stunt performer to be able to offer something more than the actor. That's kind of a little inside, but yeah, that was my, I think that was my very first thing. Oh, and then I had one where I was a rollerblader as well. Maybe that was before that. I was a rollerblader, and I had to rollerblade past the actress and elbow her in the crowd because she was running through a crowd looking for a kid and got hit by a rollerblader. So yeah.
So if you were in a film as a lead actor or something along those lines, would you be doing your own stunts in the film?
It depends. So I've had a few principal roles, and in one of them I was I actually had a stunt double for a couple scenes, because I would do the basics, but there was a scene where I was snowboarding behind a snowmobile. So they're the teens having fun before they all die, the usual horror. And I was snowboarding behind that, and I had a stunt double for that, because I'm an okay snowboarder. I can snowboard, but in the end, if I were to catch an edge and flip off and smash my wrist and break my wrist, then that shuts down production, right? So in a way, you're protecting the production. If there's nothing in it for me to do the stunt as an actor, I won't do it because it's actually hurting production. And it's not when I'm an actor, I know that it's not my theme park to run around and play in. This is a professional production that has money on the line. And if I'm there to act, then I'm there to act.
Amazing. That's I definitely think that's an important perspective to give, because a lot of people they've never worked with a stunt performer before. And, you know, you hear about people like John Wick who are like, oh, I'm going to do my own stunts. And he's so praised for it, but it is very risky, like you're saying, right? I also wanted to ask, so now that you're further into your career, who are the people that are coming to you for these jobs? Is it assistant directors? Is it producers? Is it actors, directors themselves? Who are the people mainly reaching out to you for your next project?
About 90% of it is producers and production managers. So they'll call you and ask if you're interested in it. Kind of send you a script and send out feelers from there. And, you know, the biggest thing is schedule. Obviously, if it's a 4-month shoot, and I have to really think about it. But I'll get the occasional director or director actor who will text me or call me and ask, you know, same kind of thing, try to get me on board. But, you know, in the end, again, it's all schedule, and I'm honestly the type of guy where I don't want to be working every single day. Like I would really like my time off. Especially I live in Manitoba right now, and it's freezing. So January, February, I just like to go somewhere and just get out of here. So if I can not take a job for January, February and go relax in Mexico for a month, I will do that, because I'm a big believer in extending your career by enjoying your career. There's a lot of films that will burn you out, and you got to control that, because you can burn out really fast in this industry, and then you're just not happy. So my goal is to make enough money to be comfortable where I am, and then enjoy myself and have a good life.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. I know I've heard countless stories of people in the industry, because, you know, at the end of the day, you are working like 12, 14, 15, sometimes 16-hour days, right?
Yeah.
For months on end every single day. And I've heard countless stories of people always like burning out. So it is some really good advice to, you know, take some time off for yourself and be able to do your own things, right? I love this question. It's one of my favorite questions. Is if you were to go back to when you started out, so you would go back in time and tell your old self some like one piece of advice, what would you tell yourself?
That is a good question. If I were to go back in time, okay, so I don't know. Like there's been a lot of growing pains in my career and everyone's career, and I think they're really important lessons that you learn. And I really don't think I tell myself anything, because, you know, when you change the past, you change the future. You know, that whole thing. And I'd be weary of telling myself anything, because if I said, oh, be more confident when you go into that meeting, I might get fired from that production, because who's this cocky kid walking in? So I think it's really important to just listen and be present in every room you go into, because in filmmaking, everything changes every single day, and it's a big team process. And even if you're playing on a team with some not the most likable team members, it's still a team process, and you got to find a way to find those teammates that work well with you. So if I were to give myself advice, I would if I saw myself when I was 16 walking in a meeting, I would watch myself walk in that door, and I would not interrupt myself. I would not introduce myself and have any advice, because I think it's super important to just have those experiences, have the experiences that are really shitty, because the next time another film comes, every film is a new reset, which is nice. You're not in the same job for a year on end. Every 2-3 months, you have a reset in your job, and you can approach it in a different way. So in that way, I think those growing pains are really important, and you learn a lot of lessons.
Interesting. I wanted to ask, do you have any horror stories of times you've had to shut down a set or stop a set from working because of safety reasons, or something you had to step up and really take a risk on?
I think I've been pretty lucky in that way. I mean, I've done that in a manner of speaking about 30 times, and it's less of a risk because it's me. It's I. The trick is you step up and you just say you want them to do what, and then they go, and then they won't say it again, right? Because like when a director, thing about directors is they're very visual. They're very visual, and they have this idea of what they want the end product to be, but they're so stuck in that story that they don't really take the practical elements of what's going to happen. Like a small example is, someone bumps their shin on a stool. So something as simple as that. They go, it's a comedy. It's funny. He walks in, he hits his shin on a stool and goes, ah, shit. Hilarious. It's comedy. The director goes, well, it's just funny. Let's just do it. What are the actual practicalities of that? Smashing your shin on a metal stool and making that stool move, right? You're going to hurt your actor doing that. It's good, and you're going to do it 16 times, and they're going to go home with a fracture in their shin from doing this. So it's my job to find a way to sell those things. So if something like that happens, I'll shut it down and go, no, we can't do it that way. But what I can do is I can give them a shin pad, and I can put a wire on the end of the stool and pop it as they get close to it. So we sell the illusion, and it's really all sound effects. So there's been a lot of things where I've had to step in and say, no, we're not going to do it that way. Let's talk about this. But it always becomes a conversation, right? You get in trouble if I found I would get in trouble if I gave the attitude of no, we're stopping completely, because then throughout the film I just started avoiding you at that point, and things become more dangerous. So you always want to be a voice of reason, but more you want to open the conversation. That's the big thing. Is the biggest trap we fall into in film is let's go, the sun's going down, we gotta go. My job is to step in and say, no, guys, this is a stunt. Let's talk this through. If we can't do it today, then we don't do it. And that's the hardest thing to do. That is the hardest thing to do, because you feel like you're stopping their film from being made by making it safe. So I'm always walking that line, and it is quite stressful to be that person on set, because really that's my only job. My only job is to make sure that this goes off without an injury, because if something happens, I'm liable. And the producer's liable, and the director, everyone's liable on the top end. I haven't done my job, even though sometimes they're pushing me away, trying to block me from doing my job. I don't know if I answered the question or not. But.
No, that was perfect. That was perfect. I think that's all of my questions, unless Poya, you had any more.
Yeah, I think on my end, I think I had one more question. What are you up to like these days? I know you said you're changing paths a little bit. Are you working on anything these days?
In my kind of personal creative thing, I'm trying to get some writing done. So I'm trying to write a little TV series right now. I have no clue how to pitch that once it's done, but I want to have something in my back pocket that's ready and good to go, because I feel like if you're trying to get your director career off the ground, the best way to do is attach yourself to your own project. And if you don't have that, then you don't really have anything to offer. It's so tough to walk into a room and be like, hey, I can direct. Trust me. Watch my short films. Can I direct? Like no one's gonna do that. And in the end, I don't really want to be directing a Hallmark film or anything. I'd like to direct something cool. So I'm trying to write my own stuff to try to get that as a tool in my back pocket. We did the show that I'm most excited about that we just did was Shoresy. Have you seen the show Shoresy, hockey show on Crave? So that's a show that my brother and I just stunt coordinated and did all the hockey coordinating for that too. And they actually gave us producer credits on it, which was very, very generous of the team, because we just worked our asses off on that one. And but such a fun set to be on. That's Jared Kiso and Jacob Tierney of Letterkenny. So that's their spin-off show, and it's such the other the difference when you have the creatives and the producers Kara and Brennan too. Like they have such a great attitude of making an effort to be positive on set and to actually thank you for your work, and that makes such a big difference in going back to that production. Like I can't wait to go back this year to do Shoresy 2, because it is, yeah, that's what I'm excited about right now.
Amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Just one last thing. Do you have any, we've talked about other stunt coordinators who want to become like you, but what about young directors who want to incorporate stunts, want to work with a stunt coordinator, but don't know where to start? Any advice for things to look out for, or how to collaborate with a stunt coordinator?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've never been asked it before, actually. For young directors, like it is tough, because when you look at your scripts as a director, you go, well, this doesn't need to be a stunt. And like I find that when someone hires me and brings me into a room to chat about their script, the first thing I do is I look at it and I go, does this need to be a stunt? Is there a way to do this without being a stunt? Can you get your moment or your beat without being a stunt? So as a director, and this is me as a coordinator, there's many different types of coordinators. There's coordinators who are complete cowboys, who will come in and go, yeah, we're gonna throw the car off the cliff, and we're gonna they may ruin your movie. So but 80% of us of these coordinators are really good and really understand the process, and if they've worked enough, they're kind of over it. They don't really need to push their reel and get bigger stunts and make themselves look better. So really, you just want to find a coordinator that can collaborate with you and kind of talk in the same language as you. And big thing is, know what you want to see. So if you have when you call that coordinator in, rather than saying, hey, what do you think of these stunts? Look at the page and go, well, this says that she falls in the cement, but it's really about the reaction of the guy here, so we don't need to see her. What drives coordinators crazy is when there's no plan, right? When they go, oh yeah, we're just doing actor action, we're gonna figure it out, and you get there and you go, okay, well now it's gonna be expensive, because now I need to have all the gear, all the people, all the doubles, because we don't know what you're going to do. So now we need to be prepared for everything. So best way to do it, and if you can storyboard those scenes, even better. Then the coordinators really calm down and will completely play on your team, because they know, oh, this is just a wide shot of them falling out of frame, right? So that's a really good question.
And a really great answer. Thank you so much. I'm sure, even the people that don't want to pursue stunt coordination are going to get a lot from that specifically. So even myself included. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Oh, I actually have one more advice for director. This is actually what I talk about a lot, which I think is great advice. When you do your blocking of your scenes, if you ever have this actor action where it's the domestic, or the one scene that everyone has in their film, because there's always a conflict that ends up in some sort of action. Before you bring your actors to set to do the emotional part and add the acting, block the action out first, because it's so important for your actors to know what point A to point B to point C is before they add the emotion. Because if you try to do it backwards, there's two things that are going to happen. They're either going to forget their lines and forget their emotion and forget the performance, because they're so worried about hitting the person or doing something unsafe, or they're going to do the opposite, have a great performance, but be really unsafe and really hurt somebody. So I find it's really great to bring them in as people, as Sarah and John, not as the actors, not as their and who knows what their style is. They could be really cool, or they could be a complete method actor, and you really want to bring them into the room beforehand to let them have that safe space before they add the performance. So bring them in with a coordinator, stunt coordinator, walk through, figure out, because there's a lot of aggressive things you can do that are very safe, right? So find those aggressive moments to make it safe, and then go, okay, cool. Now you guys both know what to expect in the day. Now go ahead and add the acting, because if you do the performance first or the action first, then add the acting, then your performance becomes so much better, because they're not worried about hurting the person. They know what they're going to do. They know what the other person is going to do, and they can relax into that character and actually have a real performance. And I find that's the most powerful way to do those kind of scenes.
Rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. It's definitely great advice.
Beautiful. Sean, we appreciate you hopping on. I think this podcast is really, or this episode is really going to help like a lot of people fill in some blanks that, you know, they've never heard before, because it's not every day, you know, you're getting a stunt performer on a podcast and getting to like learn all the details about them. So we really appreciate you coming on. If anyone wants to find you online, is there anywhere specific they can, you know, reach out to you if they want to ask any questions or just follow you online?
I mean, my Instagram, what is it, Sean Skene 53. There's barely any film stuff on there. It's more my personal thing. I don't really market myself as a filmmaker or a stunt performer, because first, you can't take pictures on set, and that's a pet peeve of mine. The hashtag stunt life. I don't like that. I'd rather just leave my work as my work and be myself. So, but that's my handle if you want to follow me.
Beautiful. And for people who are listening in, it's Sean, SeanSkene, and then
53, I believe.
53. Perfect. Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you again for your
so much
time,
for hopping
Sean.
on.
I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yes, thanks so much. Nice meeting you guys.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.